Hey everybody, Brandon with FastDataScience.ai. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever stayed up late at night mulling over and truly wondering what is the difference between a data scientist and a machine learning engineer? And more importantly, how do those two business roles fit into the context of artificial intelligence? Well, if that describes you, then stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to address that very question. That is, what is the real difference between a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, and how do those two roles fit within the context of artificial intelligence? And so what we're really going to do is we're going to ask, will the real data scientist please stand up? And so in this video, I'm going to leverage my 15 plus years of experience in data science to give you what I think are the main skills that really do differentiate a data scientist from a machine learning engineer. In addition, I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means in the context of artificial intelligence. And I also want to talk a little bit about something that a lot of people don't really address when talking about these different roles and defining them for students and young people or business people trying to understand what they are. And so we'll get into my take on what's really important about the distinction or lack of distinction between these two roles. So at the end of the day, if you were to Google what is a data scientist versus a machine learning engineer, you would be presented with all kinds of websites that have opinions on that very question. And if you start looking at those websites, what you notice is that there are a lot of skills that some websites assign to data scientists, but other websites might assign some of those same skills to machine learning engineers. What that really means is there is a tremendous amount of overlap between data scientist skill set and a machine learning engineer's skill set. But in my experience, there are some core things that do differentiate the two roles. And it really comes down to three fundamental things for each role that I find to be significantly different in helping to differentiate the activities that those individuals or those employees engage in a typical business context. So let's address data science first. What is a data scientist? Fundamentally, a data scientist, in addition to all the other things that a data scientist is, a data scientist is different from a machine learning engineer in these three ways: strong research skills, a very strong statistical foundation to be able to apply their research skills to big data and understand how to identify signals in that data that are important and have potential business implications. More importantly, data scientists also need to be able to take the sophisticated things that they do with data and statistics, and they need to be able to explain the results of those activities to non-technical audiences. So data scientists need to also be really strong in data storytelling. They've got to be able to sell their solutions to the business in order to keep their jobs. Okay, so how is that different from a machine learning engineer? Well, machine learning engineers, who also do have a background or an understanding at least of statistics and how they apply to big data and how they apply to building machine learning models, machine learning engineers also have to have or tend to have strong software programming skills. They have to be able to understand effectively how to take the data science solutions and integrate them, which also means that they have to have some understanding of enterprise architecture, server architecture, so that they know how to support those products for lots of potential users. All of this really comes down to machine learning engineers being particularly skilled at understanding how to take a data science output and turn it into a product. That is, productionize the activities that data scientists undergo in building and training their solutions. So machine learning engineers essentially come up after data scientists have done their research and identified their best possible model for a particular business case. And they can take those things and scale them and make them available, accessible, and secure for the rest of the business or potential consumers. And so in that way, machine learning engineers tend to have a stronger skill set on some of the things that are needed to be able to support something that in a lot of software development circles is more consistent with what we would call DevOps. And so machine learning engineers often are employed by machine learning operations teams who are responsible for supporting all of the data science outputs that happen with data science teams in production. Okay, fundamentally, that's the difference between the two roles. Where does this come into play in artificial intelligence? Well, at the end of the day, both data scientists, their work and their outputs, combined with the production and scalability of machine learning engineers, are brought together in the context of applications. And what that means is whenever an application is able to ingest the outputs of a data scientist because they are supported and productionized by a machine learning engineer, those applications now are said to be intelligent. That is to say, they have artificial intelligence now. And so applications help to create the wrapper, if you will, around the efforts of data scientists and the machine learning engineers such that we can create experiences that feel intelligent. So, what most people won't actually tell you about this distinction, yeah, they'll define it and they'll give you all kinds of things that make them different. But what they won't actually tell you is, in practice, these things aren't all that different. In fact, there's some really good articles that talk about something called the data science divide. What is the data science divide? Essentially, the data science divide is a phenomena whereby smaller and medium-sized businesses, or businesses with less mature data science practices, tend to make very little distinction between these two roles. In fact, these are often the same people. As you get into larger and larger businesses, you see more of a distinct separation between the two roles, and there tends to be even more and more specialization in those larger and larger companies. And so data scientists might be different people from machine learning engineers. And there might be other specializations that shoot off from those fields or those roles to help further support some of the needs of those very large industries. So this idea, the data science divide, comes from this particular article, The Future of Data Science, Trends in a Rapidly Growing Industry. And so here's how you can kind of think of it. Small and medium-sized businesses have a lot of overlap. These tend to be the same people. Data scientists and machine learning engineers need to essentially support lots of things happening for these small businesses. And so, again, they tend to be the same person. Medium-sized businesses may see some bifurcation there, depending on the sophistication and maturity of their analytics and data science teams. But as you get to the larger businesses, or especially in the FAANG companies, right, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Netflix, the Googles, the Apples of the world, right, then you see even more differentiation between those two roles. And there might even be some specific specializations that you'll see offshooting there. For example, I've seen artificial intelligence engineers, right? What are those? They're sort of a combination of a lot of the skills we've already covered. So at the end of the day, it's important to keep in mind that yes, indeed, these two roles do have differences. And as you think about both your career and your business and trying to grow it and scale it with data science and data science skills, really consider that it's a function of the size of the company that you're going to be applying those things to. Small, early stage startups and medium-sized businesses tend to blend those skill sets more. Larger, more mature data science practices in bigger enterprises may see more differentiation because there's a lot of other needs that those two separate roles can tend to fill on a day-to-day and actually justify a full-time job. Excuse me before I run out of air. Okay, so if you want to understand more about the big picture on data science, how it applies to enterprise activities, kind of bringing together both sides of the skill set world, machine learning engineering and data science, check out my book, From Zero, excuse me, move out of the way. Well, just check out my book. From Zero to Neural Nets in 60 pages. This video just went. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. More to come next week.